I'm Dmitry Mitrofanov. I'm an assistant professor at Boston College, Carroll School of Management. Now, I would like to briefly highlight my latest research work with the title, The Impact of AI Technology on the Productivity of Gig Workers. This is a joint work with Serguei and Netessine from UPenn and Benjamin Knight from Instacart. The invention of peer-to-peer platforms has changed the way we buy and purchase products and services. These days, it's very common for us to have a ride which is provided by a freelance driver, to have groceries provided by a freelance shopper, and to have a dog which is walked by a freelance walker. P2P platforms have become ubiquitous these days, and that shift in our economy is likely to be irreversible. And it's important to know that gig workforce is different from the standard workforce in a couple of aspects. To begin with, we have very low barriers to entry and easy accessibility of gig platforms. As a result, it can make the pool of gig workers very heterogeneous in terms of experience and skills. Also, gig workers operate with a high degree of autonomy and flexibility. And all of those aspects essentially motivate the research question that we would like to address in this talk, given that every gig company is interested in providing a consistently high quality of the service. At a high level, our main goal is to study the impact of AI technology on the productivity and standardization of the gig workforce. To this end, the natural question is, what are the main challenges and what is the benefit from adopting AI solutions by gig workers? Does it have some leveling effect when it standardizes the operations in the gig economy? That is the focus of our current research. We try to answer our research question by conducting a randomized controlled experiment on the Instacart platform. In total, we have 2 experiments. In the first experiment, we essentially analyze just how one variation of our AI technology without routing might impact the productivity of workers and impact the platform fundamentals. To this end, the control gig workers had experience as is. They have a scrollable list of items they need to pick. They can scroll back and forth, and essentially they just need to pick all the items from that list. However, the gig workers in the treatment group were provided with the store layout map with the position of every product on the map that was powered by crowdsourcing technology. And then for the second experiment, we add additional treatment exposure where instead of just showing the map with the location of all the products from the list to pick, the shoppers were provided by a specific route of how to pick these items in the most efficient way using a traveling salesman problem. Let us now focus on the first field experiment, and our first research question is to evaluate the impact of this technology on the platform's fundamentals. Not surprisingly, we can see that this technology leads to reduction in the refund rate and increases the customer spend. However, we don't see the impact of this technology on the picking time. The latter result is not surprising, since while it can improve the quality of the service, the shoppers would need to spend time getting used to this technology, looking into the screen and trying to make sense from what they see on their phone. So far, we use treatment as a binary outcome. Now we would like to focus only on the treated customers, and the goal is to see whether the instances when a particular shopper used this technology more lead to better outcomes. Moreover, we would like to model the impact of this technology on the outcome variables in non-linear way. We see the diminishing return from using this technology from the table on the slide. We can see that the impact of this technology is maximized at around 30% of usage, which is much higher than the current usage of 5%. If we either underuse or overuse this technology, we would be significantly worse off. That tells us that not only that it's important to develop new technological solutions, but it can be even more important to make sure that gig workers use this technology in an optimal way. To understand how the usage of this technology varies between shoppers and shoppers are more likely to use this technology, we define the main outcome variable, which is exposure, which is essentially the fraction of the picking time when the store map was opened by a shopper. Then it follows from the table on the slide that technology usage is the highest for less experienced shoppers. And shoppers tend to use this technology more when fulfilling more complex batches from less familiar stores, which is pretty intuitive. Interestingly, we also observe that technology usage increases over time, which is a positive sign for the company. Now let's move to the next question and investigate if this technology has a leveling effect. Previously, we noticed that the usage of this technology by less experienced shoppers was higher, and it brings the hope that it can close the gap between more experienced and less experienced shoppers and standardize the service. To address this question, for each store day combination, we compute the interquartile difference for the refund rate and picking time by taking the difference between top 25% of the batches and bottom 25% of the batches. In this regard, we definitely see that this technology helps to close the gap between less experienced and more experienced shoppers. Therefore, it has a positive societal effect in the gig economy. The last question we would like to address is what works best for gig workers, algorithmic prescription or just information sharing? We compare the outcomes of two treatments. For the first treatment, the experience was like it was described before. We share information with shoppers about the store layout and locations of the items that needs to be picked. However, for the second treatment, we also provide shoppers with a specific route of how to pick items in the most optimal way. What is very surprising is that, contrary to ex-ante beliefs, the routing feature doesn't bring much value. On the contrary, the picking time even gets worse. It seems that gig workers are reluctant to be micromanaged and instead would like to make the final judgment by themselves. To conclude, when it comes to gig economy, developing tools to control the usage of the technology can be as important as developing the technology itself, given that shoppers can easily either underuse or overuse this particular technology. Thank you very much for your attention.